What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you tonight because we are live and we are talking about grading comics. And if you've seen my rant videos, if you're familiar with my rant videos, you know that I like to talk about some grading comics, but we're not going to have CGC being target practice here tonight. No, tonight, folks, we are going to be talking live with Tony from EGS Grading Services. But before we get into all that, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. So when videos like this drop ever so randomly, you will be one of the first people to know and can make the conscious decision as to whether or not to watch it now or later. But as long as you watch it, we appreciate it. We've got a whole bunch of you in the chat already, and we do appreciate tailgaters. Always fun to have some tailgaters. Les Crucis 1971, all the way from New Mexico. What is up? Captain Comics, ahoy mates and mermaids, what is going on? William Smallwood, hello all. Discovery Bay and Cyborg Dad Mystery, as well as Remy Q Studios, the dance aficionado himself. And with that, let's bring in Tony. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Well, I appreciate you agreeing to come on and do the show tonight. I know that you were in the chat when I had Randy from Legal Burning on last week, and I said, well, why don't I just reach out to him and ask him if he would be willing to come on, and you agreed so graciously, and I appreciate you being here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. My pleasure.
Well, and we've already got some fandom up in here. Love the EGS slabs. They're fire. So there you go.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to have fans, follow you around. I had myself, I am slightly familiar with your cases, having never used, in full disclosure, both to you and to the chat, have never used your services, have fully intended to. And so not only the purposes of tonight's show is to better inform me, but to get, your information to people like myself who maybe have heard, seen a case or two, just maybe not as familiar with as, say, the big two, like CBCS and CGC.
Yep.
So why don't we just start and take it from the top as far as how in the world did you get into grading comics when you were a kid and you said, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? You said, hey, I want to grade comics. I know that wasn't true because it wasn't even a thing when I was collecting comics when I was a kid. So how did you get into grading comics?
Basically, I actually worked at a comic shop when I was a kid. So that's really where it all started. I worked at a comic shop for 6 years. So, I'm a collector myself. But, of course, like you said, back then things were a lot different. So the way, of course, we graded comics and things back then, pre-CGC was, I guess just the honor system, right? So everybody had their take of what they thought a book should be. And we just went from there. So, just starting out there as a young kid, working in there so many years, I just, went from just bagging and boarding to, working the register to then, being able to watch the store while the owner leaves for a little bit. And then he actually taught me, how he graded a book. So that's kind of where I got my introduction to grading. I don't know if I ever back then inspired to be a quote unquote comic grader because they really didn't exist back then. Like I said, it was just really the store owners and individuals putting the grade on their book. So then, of course, CGC came along. Things changed. So, everybody shifted over to the new way that books were being graded and such. I still really didn't have maybe an interest per se in the grading. I was just, like I said, mainly just a collector. And of course, did I have some skills? Yes, from what I was taught. But really why I got into it and why I started EGS is just the experiences that I had with the other grading companies. And I said to myself, I said, well, you know, I think there's a better way to do this. I think the community needs another option, and not only another option, but somebody's going to do things maybe a little bit differently and a little bit better. So I had to educate myself. I mean, because the way that we graded comics back then is nothing to how we grade comics now. So I did a little education on took a couple classes on the Overstreet guide to grading comics and how that is done, how they interpret it, and got my education with that. And I tell you, it was a culture shock because from what I was used to back in the day to what now they're showing me is like, wow, I never even thought it was. I didn't think your book had to go through what it does, right? But so I educated myself first because obviously before I opened up my own grading company, I had to feel like I knew, what I was doing. So I went through the education, did all that, and finally decided to jump in the water with the other two so people could have, in my estimation, a better option. So that's really how it went down. Just the frustration of dealing with these other companies really pushed me to say, you know what, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it better. And here I am. So.
Well, many a great company has been formed just that way, right? Is that it's led out of a bad experience with the other ones or a lackluster experience with the other ones. It's very easy when a company gets to the size that CGC is obviously the big boy in the room. But it's easy when a company gets to that size to lose sight of what got them to that size, thinking that they've got the side of the market monopolized. Obviously, when resale value, which is a big thing in grading these days, CGC commands the market. But I personally think that a lot of it is being eroded away by the mixed up labels, by the scratched up cases, the messed up books, so on and so on and so forth. That if you're on any form of social media, I'm sure that you've seen plenty of it yourself. So, yeah, I mean, competition will either make or break a company like CGC. So eventually CGC goes the way of the dodo, or CGC says, hey, EGS, CBCS, and PGX, which nobody bothers to mention, by the way. It's funny. They're the redheaded freckle-faced stepchild. I don't know. But
you make the bed that you sleep in, right? So, I mean, I don't, people have their issues with different companies, and that's the way it is. You're not going to change that. I mean, hey, not everybody, you can't please everybody, but you could try to do the best you can every day to give the community and the customers what they deserve. I mean, everybody's going to make a mistake here and there, but it's how you handle it. So
how do you handle the mistake? Exactly. When CGC decided to rip the cover off my comic and not own up to it, I would have. It wouldn't have. It wasn't like my Hulk 181. So I would have been okay with them saying, "Look, I'm sorry about it. Here's a $10 credit for the next time." But no, they just don't own up to it, and constantly later and later and getting your books back, and then you go from a restored grade to a non-restored grade, which is another interesting story. How my trimmed book became untrimmed. It grew pages back. But and talking about making your bed, you're right. I had one issue with PGX one time, and But they fixed it. So again, everybody makes a mistake if they fix it, and their grading, in my estimation, only talking me personally, can't speak for anybody else, but me personally has been pretty much on point. I've heard some bad stuff about them. As far as CBCS, you hear that they are tougher graders than what CGC is. But when it comes to you, in your case, the only thing I ever hear is, I love the labels. So maybe we dive into talking about the labels. What was it, just the fact that you like doing different colored labels that led you to kind of pull that niche in the market?
No, frankly, I mean, it wasn't even my idea, to tell you the truth. Uh, I was because when I first started EGS, there were no colored labels. The colored labels we started maybe about a year and a half ago. We're going on our third year. Starting in January was our third full year. So I don't know if you're familiar with Economics and Comics, the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Billy is a good friend, and we were just on the phone chatting and talking about different things and different artists and covers and stuff like that. And he had a book, and he had I think it was the Detective 1000 Harley Quinn book, and he's like, damn, he's like, he's like, wouldn't this be fire with like a pink label on it? And I said, and I'm just like, yeah, wow, yeah, that would be good. And then he's like, yeah, he's like, he's like, too bad that everybody just does these kind of labels. And then the light bulb went on, and I'm like, well, why does it have to be that way, right? I mean, there's no law saying that each color has to represent a single service, and that's all you get. I mean, why can't you have a label that's going to really make your book pop and look well? I mean, because all you have to do is look at the label, and you're going to know whether it's a certified series or a signature series or what. I mean, I guess everybody's been used to seeing, okay, yellow is signed, blue is this. So we wanted to break that mold and just say, hey, I mean, if you want your book to look good, it doesn't have to be that way, and we're going to go this way with it. And people just really responded well, because I'm one of those guys that, yes, I mean, I don't read as much as I used to, but I've always loved the art aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially nowadays with these artists who do these covers, they're just incredible. So why not have that label that's really gonna set that book off, so when you show it to somebody or put it online or whatever, people are going to be like, whoa, right? So that's really how it started.
Okay.
That's how it started. So
Well, we got a whole bunch of other folks that have kind of filtered in here. Appreciate everybody for showing up, and feel free that if you have any questions for Tony, put them in the chat, and we will ask him for sure. But the talking about the colored labels, everybody's got their own thing. What's his name that started CBCS? I know he has an abhorrence to various labels. I go back and forth on them. But you're right. But if you can carve a niche out in the market, and to me, especially if I am collecting that book and I'm really appreciating that book, those labels really set it off. But I would think that those labels would take a lot more time to do than, say, the cookie cutter labels that the other ones do.
yeah, no, they do. They definitely take more time than just our quote unquote standard, right? I mean, like I said, all of these, everybody out there, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever checked out our website or looked at us, but all of these colored labels, I mean, all they are options, right? They're options for you. We do have standard colored labels like everybody else, which are free with the service, but we give you the option to upgrade to that colored label or that custom label. So we get an extra, $5 for a colored label. If you want us to add graphics and stuff onto the label, they're $10. But to your point, that's why we charge that, because of the time it takes to do those, opposed to the regular standard label.
Right. So, so Billy kind of gave you that idea, and you had this thing go off, saying, "Man, why don't I do something like that?"
Yeah.
So when you're getting books, do you? I know some of the other big two, they have facilitators. They go to shows. Do you do any of that, or is it strictly through your website?
It's all strictly. It's been, like I said, we just started our third year, so it's all just been, I mean, last year with COVID and everything, I mean, we didn't really get a chance to go to any shows like everybody else. This year, who knows, right? I mean, it's still kind of up in the air. Maybe towards the end of the year, we might get some more, God willing, who knows? So that brings us really back to really our first year. And I think we might have went to one con or something that first year. So, everything's just been through, social media, really. That's really been it. I mean, I've done some local stuff with my local LCS that have had, some artists and writers come in. So we'll go and set up and do that sort of thing. But I mean, to go to, like, we haven't really been to any major cons or anything like that yet. So that's still to come.
Well, I mean, that again, when you're running a small operation, that's a big investment, both in time and money. I mean, you take off, you go to this con, you have no inkling whether or not you'll even recoup your entry fee, and you're there. And I've seen the facilitators for CGC in them, and they're bringing these big old books back, and that's great. But you're like, holy crap, it's going to get bottlenecked, and you're trying to look at these and give them the right grade. You're not just wanting to do like CGC and slap them in a case. You want to give them the right grade. One thing I did appreciate on the competitive side of things, again, just being a student of business and having businesses myself, was I posted a post the other day regarding CGC and the like. And I said, hey, when are the other ones? Is there going to be anybody that's going to stand up? And I tagged CGC and said, hey, I'm calling you out. I'm not talking behind your back. And I tagged you and PGX and CBCS. So you were the first one to respond, and you just responded. It wasn't bashing the other company, because you don't feel like you have to. Look, people make their own decisions, and they want to use CGC for certain things. That's fine, whatever. Make their own decisions. But you're like, okay, I'm here. That's cool with me. I'm let me know if I can help.
Well, that's, like I said, man, one of the core things that, I believe in here, and as a company, I think out of everything, I think people will appreciate the customer service. I hope that people appreciate the customer service that we give, because we make that our number one priority above everything. So we want to make sure that, when you're calling us at the shop, you're going to get somebody, or if we're busy, we're going to call you back. You email us, we're going to email you back in a timely manner. You DM us on social media, you're going to get an answer back, promptly. So, we feel like, that right there by itself makes us head and shoulders better than anybody else. Just to know that, hey, I can reach these guys. I can talk to somebody. I can ask a question, and they're going to get back to us. They're not going to be talking to some guy in a call center in India, right? So, I mean, that's really the staple to our business, is always going to be customer service. I mean, that's always going to come first, above all else. So, like you say, that's why, hey, you put that out on social media, I responded, so just because we care and we're active, it's either myself or somebody else. We're always checking, social media to answer people, or to make sure people have questions we're going to answer. So, that's.
So we got a couple of questions for you. How many graders are at EGS?
Just me right now. Just me. I am the primary grader. I'm not to the point yet to where I'm so overloaded that I have to teach somebody and hire somebody yet. So as of right now, I do it all.
So Captain also says, what's your favorite book that you've done?
Oh, no doubt about it. Amazing Fantasy 15.
Oh, wow. You've done a AF 15.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
What kind of grade? Do you remember what grade it was?
1.5.
Still a huge book, you know.
Yeah.
So Tacoma wants to know, would you give him a better grade if he asked nicely?
No. Unfortunately not. We go by the book.
So, that's an interesting thing. Have you ever had anybody call you and say, hey, look, Tony, you missed it, man. What is this 6.5? It should have been a 7.5. And you said, well, what about the bend in the corner? And they say, well, that wasn't there before you got it. Or, some all the horror stories. Have you ever had that happen before?
No, not yet. The grader's notes that we give with every book is, I guess, been sufficient. We tell you what we've seen. We haven't got anything yet to where they're like, well, that wasn't there when we sent it. I haven't gotten anything like that yet. I've seen maybe a couple posts on maybe some other grading companies boards or whatever. A couple of people have posted, oh, this, look, they graded this at this, and they didn't agree with it. There's maybe been a couple of those, but I mean, not anything like, hey, this wasn't there when I sent it, or anything like that. No.
Well, the grading is subjective, and I don't care if it's EGS or CGC, whoever, it's subjective, right? And so you've got, everybody supposedly has this book, whether it's Overstreet, whatever, to go by and say, this is kind of how we grade things. And you've probably seen the same videos I have, that people have cracked open slabs multiple times, same book, sent it to the other company to see if they got a better grade one way or another. And sometimes PGX would go up, sometimes CBCS, and it was all over the board. And it just goes to show you that while we would like to think as collectors that CGC or any of the other grading companies are the end all be all, that's gospel when that says 7.5, it's closer than what it was raw, okay, but it's not gospel. So spend your money wisely.
Yeah.
Polka Dot Peach says that the CGC boards are pretty much an obnoxious place in his opinion.
I don't even really look at those anymore. I did when I first started, and I was just like, there's nothing productive going on here. It's just a bunch of fans of one company getting together and having a bro fest, right? So
right,
really kind of what it reminded me of. But to get back to your point on the grading, that is a good point, that I can't strive enough to people that here at EGS, our goal is to be transparent, right? So that's why we let you know, look, this is how we grade, okay? We grade by the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. You can go and purchase one yourself if you wanted to, right? Now, ask CGC, ask PGX, ask CBCS, ask them what their standards are. They're not going to tell you, right? Why? I don't know, but that's another thing with us to look. You know what? This is how I grade by the book. If you don't agree, and here's the grader's notes. This is what I see. If you don't agree, or you think I made a mistake, or anything to that nature, you can go out and buy the book yourself and study, and then come to that conclusion if you like. But again, I can teach somebody everything I know, but that doesn't mean our grades are always going to be exactly the same. No two people or three people or five people are going to see a book exactly the same.
Yep.
So
yeah, if you and I witnessed a wreck and the officer came and said, okay, how did it happen? We saw the same wreck, but we saw it through two different sets of eyes. And I'm going to say, well, truck was coming from this way. And you're going to say, well, I saw this kid over here. And so you're going to see things differently, even though we saw the same thing. We see the same book. And so it's going to be different. And there's nothing else you can get around that other than have one grader at one company.
Right.
Polka Dot Peach does ask, do you have pressing or plans to in the future?
Yes, we do. We do. We press and we clean.
So talking about pressing, what is your turnaround time for pressing?
Okay, so if you're including it in the grading process, so if you're sending in a book to get graded and slabbed and pressed, you're looking at 34 business days, 35 business days total. If we're not doing any cleaning and pressing, the standard turnaround time is 21 business days. So we add about 14 business days or so when we have to press and clean a book. That gets added on to the 21. So
okay. So so it's a lot speedier than what CGC and CBCS. So I had turned in at a con last year 2 books. This was in July, and I got them in. Did I get them at the end of December or the 1st of January? So that's how long it took them to press my books. I got the other ones back, but the 2 I had pressed, that's how long it took them to press them because they were that backed up.
Well, I would say my view on that is coming from somebody that owns a business, okay, and as a collector myself, okay. I'm like you, I'm sure. I don't like my books gone for a long time away from me. I don't like it. I don't care who I'm sending it to. That's why our turnaround times are the way they are. And we're going to try everything in our power to always keep them like that. I really don't think there would be any need for us to raise them at this point. I would rather, and why these other companies don't do it, I don't know. But I mean, if it got to the point to where I was that busy to where I'm having problems meeting my turnaround times that I'm advertising, I would go out and hire somebody. That's how you fix that. You hire somebody. They choose to, I guess, make you wait instead of doing that. And that's their prerogative. They have their own business model and the way they do things, and God bless them. But I don't believe that somebody should be waiting 3, 4, 5 months for a book. I mean, we are where we are because you got to figure we're at about, give or take 2 months if with a pressing and cleaning, 35, 36 business days, right around of 2 months, give or take, right? 21 business days, right around 1 month, give or take. To me, that's it. It shouldn't be longer than that. If I'm going to have a problem meeting that timeline, then I better hire somebody because it's not fair to you. I don't want you to be waiting for your books because I know I don't like to wait for mine. So
yeah. I had this conversation with the customer service rep, and unfortunately for her, at CGC, and so I said, let me explain this to you, that people are not going to continue to hold you up as the epitome and the standard when it comes to grading in the community. Eventually, you're going to lose your throne because you decided to increase your profit margin. But I would argue that you're not increasing your profit margin when, like in my case, I had 2 books came back, a Tomb of Dracula 10 and a Werewolf by Night 32, and the labels were mixed up. The labels were switched. And so I sent them back at their expense. They fixed it at their expense and shipped it back to me. There went your profit.
Yeah.
So all because you didn't want to hire one person. There is this break even point to where it's like, okay, we're way too overcrowded. You cannot staff in a business to the highest times of the year. It's difficult to do. But with the new norm being less cons and more mail-ins, and in their case, signature series at their locale, they have to staff to that. I mean, that's common business sense.
Yeah.
But
well, that's apparently they're happy with the way it is. In my estimation, they could all be driving Cadillacs instead of Bentleys, but I guess they would rather drive the Bentleys and have everything else suffer. But hopefully one day it'll correct itself. So
yeah, I think it's slowly. I know CBCS has done some things to try to inch into their market share, and I know we've talked about some things that you're going to be looking at doing. Off air. So let's talk about that now. One of the things that you mentioned to me before we went live was a YouTube channel. So you want to mention that to the peeps?
Yep. I'm probably looking within the next week or 2 weeks to launch the EGS YouTube channel. We feel like it's just another avenue so we can get out to everyone out there. We can, the main purpose of the channel is going to be educational. We're going to be getting into some things of like showing you how we grade and what the process is about and how we do things. Also, we want to talk about, future things that EGS is going to be doing, whether as a business, new products, when cons come back, where you can find us, where we're going to be. And then I'm also going to be doing an episodic show probably once a week or once every couple of weeks on a specific topic about grading and the grading industry, all different kinds of topics. And I'll probably, bring in some different YouTubers to have a discussion about each topic, in the whole business of grading and stuff like that. So, yeah, looking forward to it. I feel it's just another way we can be more connected to everybody. We want to be, again, as transparent as we can. So we feel that this is just another avenue besides our social media to get out there, get our name out there, get to know more people, have more people come and check us out, look at us. And it's, looking forward to it.
Good deal. So you have a question here, Captain Comics. Does EGS do signed books without a COA?
Yes, we do. We do signature verification with or without a COA. We tell everybody you do not have to send in the COA if you don't want to. If you still want to send it anyway, we'll take it. We're still going to verify the signature and mail it back with the book to you. So we leave it up to you. If you feel the need to send it with the book, that's fine. But we do verify. We verify them anyway.
So do you use like a computer program for that, or how do you do that?
Yeah, we have a program for that we use to cross-reference signatures out there. It's a huge database with pretty much every signature out there. And what's good about it too is it's not only comics, but it's also entertainment.
Okay.
We have, like different actors and actresses, because some people like to send books in. For instance, we've got a couple of Hulk books with Lou Ferrigno's signature, right?
Right.
Or a Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds' signature, so we're able to go ahead and do not only, comics, but also, people in other, sports or entertainment, movies, stuff like that. Yep.
Cool. So I mentioned facilitators earlier. Are there any plans to have some kind of facilitator program so that you can have other people kind of marketing your services out there in the wild or at smaller shows where it doesn't pay for you to go, but hey, if I got this other guy that's representing me, to send books in to, is there any plans for that
Yeah.
right there?
Yep. Yes, we do. Again, we're always open for, to people who would like to do that for us. Unfortunately, with everything going on, with there are no cons anyway, it's kind of just been a point, mute point at this stage. But yes, I mean, it's definitely something that we want to be able to do, because we're only going to be able to go to so many, and we want to have our resources spread out as much as possible. Yeah.
Okay. So we got a couple of things. Joey Bag of Sevens wants to know, have you seen fake signatures?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Um,
I can remember I had one fake Stan Lee and one, I believe it was Chris Claremont. It was a Chris Claremont book, if I'm not mistaken, that we did not that we turned down, that we refused to do. And here's the thing: it kind of makes you feel good because the people who sent it to us, uh, we found out that they sent them to CBCS, and CBCS didn't turn them down as well. So
oh, okay. Well, I don't understand the Chris Claremont thing because he's pretty prolific. He's pretty much around all these cons and easy to get to. Stan Lee, I could see, and the problem with Stan Lee's signature is the older he got, the worse his handwriting got.
yep,
So it's a little harder, I would think, to authenticate that,
it is.
especially last year's.
You have to understand the different examples of his signature throughout the years because it did change. So did some other people. Some other people's have changed too. So you have to kind of know, how they signed 20 years ago isn't the way they're signing right now. Some are, but there's a few that sign a little bit different. Jim Lee's one of them.
Okay.
Signature way back was a little different than what he does now.
So Remy Q Studios is asking, can you see what the cases look like? Now, I plan on sharing the screen and showing your Instagram page. I don't know if you had some cases that you could share there next to you too.
I don't have any here,
Okay.
but
I'm gonna share the page.
has hundreds of examples. Yeah.
You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So here's a ASM 55. Seen this one an awful lot, and so you can kind of see what we were talking about earlier with these customized labels with the spider. So I'm sure you have some kind of designer program that does that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So as far as graders notes, one company wants to charge you for it. Other one, you can scan it. How if I bought an EGS slab, say off of eBay, how could I access the
Yep.
graders notes?
Every book that is under a 10.0, all the books, well, including a 10.0, but all the books come with a certificate of authenticity from EGS. On that certificate, we put the grader's notes on that certificate. So that certificate goes with the book wherever it goes. So it's got the serial number on the COA, which matches the serial number on the back of our labels, and of course, all that's free. So there's never any questions. And again, that's everything from a 9.9 down. We have had a couple 10s, and of course, on the 10, it just says no defects found. There's the amazing fantasy. Yeah.
So we were talking about this, I think, offline, but they were asking about the grading cases. So you have plans to upgrade the grading cases from the current ones that you have now to something a little bit better, a little different.
Yes, definitely. We have it already designed. We have the design. It's already been designed. It's already been spec'd. Everything's pretty much ready to go, except for the funding. So probably in a couple months, we are going to be launching probably an Indiegogo for getting us there to uh, be able to purchase the tooling and molding necessary for us to uh, be able to make our own cases. And I tell you, it's the case we have is going to be probably, I would say, pound for pound, the best out there. We did take some things from this case, transferred it over to the other case, mainly being the UV protection, because this case that we use now has UV protection built in with it. So thought that a lot of people appreciated that. So we wanted to make sure our new cases have the same UV protectant in it that this one does. Other than that, like look wise, it's probably gonna, it's gonna resemble, the CGC and the CBCS cases. It's gonna be that style of case.
So you got Remy Q wanting to claim all of these. And I could tell that you do some business with Billy or some of Economics and Comics' followings for all the comics that I see graded here. Those are the kinds that he likes.
Yes, some of those.
So, yeah, UV protection as well. So let me ask you this: do they come in with built-in Newton rings like all CGC stuff does?
No. No. We feel that we should be Newton ring free. I'll put it to you that way. The one good thing about it is, luckily, we'll get some prototypes. Once we can get the funding for the tooling that we need, and we have the tooling, then we can go ahead and get some prototypes out there and test them and see what pound for pound, if everything is making sure everything is sufficient to what we need.
So is there anything on the back side of that label, or is everything just on the front?
Nope. The back side of the label is just it's burgundy on the back side. It's a burgundy color. It's got our website across going the length, and then it's got the serial number underneath that. So that serial number underneath that is going to match the serial number on your COA that comes with the book.
Okay. And so Legion of Comics wanted to know if you graded figures.
No, we just grade comics. We don't do cards or anything like that. Maybe in the future, but we have enough to do with just comics. I think that in itself is keeps us busy, and I would really have to get to a point to where I know I could step away from comics and maybe open up another division that's going to just do, say, cards or figures or whatever. So,
right. I mean, there would have to be enough pent up demand in the market, because obviously you would either have to take somebody away from grading comics,
right,
which means it's either getting somebody that is really not their forte, or you're taking away, which slows down the grading of the comics, or hire somebody else, which is an additional expense. So, one thing I failed to mention earlier, folks, is that we are going to be giving a discount code towards the end of the show. So you want to stay tuned for that. And that way you can Yes, Nosh, he had mentioned this earlier, but they do have the signature verification, similar to the way CBCS does. They don't, brand your stuff with the green label of death, if they don't have that. So, as you can see, all the labels. So if you said that there's a normal label and it's an option to do the color label.
Correct.
If you had to put a percentage to it, how many actual regular labels do you do? Are they almost 100% like this?
I would venture to say it's about 80-20.
Okay.
80% being the colors and 20% just being the standard. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely got a variety of different books here, especially taking that AF-15 and throwing it into the mix of it.
Yep. There's an example of our regular blue label on that one.
This one?
On the AF-15.
Oh, on the AF-15. Okay.
That would be the regular standard, our regular standard blue certified.
Like that one right there.
Yeah, that's an old one. Yeah, that's back when we actually had the sticker on the front and the cert on the front. Yeah, that's an early label. We've progressed through this. I mean, we've just the evolution of the labels have really gone places since. Yeah, 80-20 on that.
What's that?
I would probably say 80-20 as far as the labels go, because it's a choice. Some people like the fact that, hey, it's a blue label, it's a yellow label, we're going to keep with the Joneses, and that's fine, but there's the other people who want to make their books look better.
So Nosh, I think we had mentioned this earlier. Appreciate you joining. 5 to 10 comics. What's the standard turnaround time? Not pressing.
21 days, 21 business days.
Okay, so about a month. Yeah.
Yep. Unless there's pressing and cleaning.
Is it different for an older book versus a newer book, like it is for some companies?
The time frame, you mean?
Yeah.
No. Time frame is the same. It doesn't matter what the age is. The cost is different, though.
Okay.
On the age. Like, if it's a silver or gold, we charge a little more to clean and press than we do a modern. But the times are the same.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, a comic's a comic as far as grading purposes, but as far as handling purposes, you do have it might be a little more persnickety, or you would want it to be if you're handling a golden age. I'm sure you've seen the video of CGC and the Action Comics #1.
Sure. Yep.
If I was the owner of that book, I would have fell over with a heart attack.
Yeah.
You just manhandle my book. I mean, I would just want to go and whoop the guy, like in a back alley somewhere or something.
I don't know. Again, I don't know who that was or what, but I'm just surprised not only that they did it that way, but they filmed it that way.
Yeah, who would want to admit to that?
I don't know. That's I was shocked, but again, they're good in their room. There's a couple examples like there. You can see there's the standard. If you go back one, I think,
like the Incredible Hulk one.
Yeah, go.
I think it automatically.
It does. There you go.
Yeah,
so there's the new. That's our standard blue. The way they look now.
So, do you have a census when, like, you have a database where you have all of the stuff together? So, I could say, okay, he's graded 10 AF-15s or whatever to see if they're legit.
Oh, yep. to say we have a census, I would say no, because it's not functional. We have a database where everything is stored, right?
Mhm.
But to get it to where it can be separated and viewed, uh, not only is that a big expense to incur, but to me, I would want to get to at least a certain amount of books. You know, maybe when we get to 100,000 books or 200,000 books, then, I mean, a census could be a good census, but when you only have, like on our case, we're just over 1,000.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's probably better off if we wait to gather that data, and then go ahead and do it. But we are going to do one. I mean, eventually we will have it. It's just we're not to that point yet.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of, to build that platform where it's user friendly and accessible. It just doesn't really make sense to do it when you have 1,000 books out there. It's like building the Taj Mahal for somebody that needs a 2-bedroom house. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
So Nash asked, do y'all have member fees?
No member fees whatsoever.
So this is the service. This is the services and pricing for their stuff. You can go to their website, egscomicsgrading.com. I know his Instagram is in the description of this video. I believe that the website is as well. And, if you have any questions, you can reach out to him via email up here, and they will answer you fairly promptly. But you submit your comics through here. You can get reviews just like most of the other stuff. But as you can see right here, raw grading, $10 for any age. Certified is a little bit more. Obviously, they have to pay for that program that certifies those signatures for you. And then stuff if you want to speed things up. Yeah. And go. So if you'll notice up here at the top of their page, it says 10% off of any orders of 10 books or more. So for everybody here tonight, if you put in the code, I believe you said comics 5, Tony, that if they do less than 10, because you might be a new person to EGS and you're like, man, 10's a big commitment. 10's a big commitment whether you're new to EGS or not. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? But 10 might be too much for you. But let's say you have a couple of books. You say, hey, I want to try EGS out, see what they do. I got some that I just think that those labels would really pop, whatever the case may be. You can use the code comics5 and save 5% on your order of 9 or less comics. So between 1 and 9, use that code. Or if you want to go up a little bit more, you can use, you get 10% off your order for 10 books or more. So.
Yeah, but we have a line on the bottom of the submission form that you would just type in comics 5. And then when we send you the invoice, that 5% will be discounted, just like, the 10% off. When you do the form, that 10% doesn't automatically come off on the form, but when we get it, because we get the form right when you submit it online, when we get your books and send the invoice, that 10% will come off.
So Polka Dot Peach asked, do you have different size holders for your Golden Age books?
No, it's actually the same holder. It's modern, silver, and gold.
Okay.
The difference isn't actually the biggest difference for us with these cases that we use. We can only slab a book with that goes up to like 60 pages, I believe. The 80 pagers and the 100 pagers are just too thick. They won't fit in the case. So it's really about the thickness. It's more about the thickness than about the actual dimension of the book. Of course, we don't do magazines. We don't have a magazine size holder. So,
Mark, yeah, we mentioned that earlier. The action figure grading, no, they do not currently do that. So, Captain Comics asks, what is your favorite book in your collection?
Oh boy. Gosh.
It's like saying which one's your favorite kid. I got it, but
Oh man. I would I would probably say it'd probably be the first significant key I bought back in, I'm gonna give my age away here, but uh back in 1981, 82, I purchased a Daredevil 1 for $50.
wow, you still got it?
Yep.
Nice.
But yeah, that would be that was I would probably say that because that was the first, like, you know, $50 to a kid, I was, 11 back then, 12. I mean, $50, you
It's a lot
know,
of money.
I had to save, save and save, and then I finally, I knew somebody who was a friend of the family that actually had one and sold it to me for like $50. He had
Wow.
like two or three of them. So I remember. I'd probably say now, looking back at it, because I still don't have it graded or anything. It's raw. I would probably say it's probably around maybe a five. A five, 5.5, somewhere in there. So
Sweet. So, I mean, that's what the next question I was going to ask. Do you grade your own comics, or do you personally prefer them to be raw?
nope, I do not grade. EGS does not grade their own books. I don't grade.
It would
I,
seem like a conflict of interest. I get it, but as far as presentation goes, because sometimes for me, that's as much about it as anything else. Preservation and presentation.
yep. Listen. I'm since I do own the company, and like you said, the conflict of interest. I mean, yeah, I'd love to grade my own books, but you're always going to have that. Oh, he's, how honest is he? Is he, really giving that? So I send it to other companies just like everybody else has to for certain.
Okay.
But I do it more just for preservation. I think you know what I mean. I just um, some books that I send in. I'm not, and I really don't care what grade they are. I just do it so they're encapsulated.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some people chase grades. I mean, the 9.8. I was going to say whores, but that's a little rough on people. But I mean, people collect the way they want to collect, so that's fine. I'm a low grades better than a no grade kind of a guy. As long as it presents well, I'm good. So, but to each their own.
Yeah.
Shattered Glass Comic Reviews. Tyler asked, "What would you say is the reason to use EGS over, say, CGC?"
That's really, it's just our overall service is better. I mean, if you really want to come down to it, I mean, our service is better. Uh, your book is going to be gone. Just a regular standard turnaround time. It's only about a month, and your book is back to you. Our customer service is top notch. Again, you can get a hold of anybody, including me, here through telephone, email, social media. We make sure we answer you and answer any questions you have. We're easy to get a hold of, and we respond to people. You're going to get a consistent grade with EGS. You're not going to get a 9.8 that has 3 or 4 color breaking spine ticks on the spine. We are very consistent in that area. Um, Now, I wish I could say we were consistent in the value of our books, but unfortunately, it is the way it is right now until the market corrects itself. But I mean, if you just want the overall best service out there, we are to me, heads and tails above everybody else.
Well, and right, and yeah, so it depends on what you're looking for. To your point, until the market says, "Hey, Expert Grading Service or EGS is a legitimate contender," they know what they're doing, and therefore, I, as a consumer, am willing to pay as much for that graded book as what a 6.0 in the other company is going to do. Really, if you're keeping it for your PC, if you're buying it for presentation, I keep going back to the labels. I mean, that's what always sticks out for me, are those labels. It's which one would you prefer, to be able to pick up the phone and get a hold of somebody that's actually doing something. Now, CGC, I will give them this, that they do have in-state customer service, or they speak really good English, whichever. But they don't. It's people that don't know anything. It's not the guy or the guys that are saying, "Hey, I'm making the calls here. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a collector too." That type of thing, and that's what you can really appreciate. So, Captain Comics says he would always grade his books a 10, even if it had no cover. Yeah, see, that's what we're talking about, Captain. a little conflict of interest.
You could, hey, no, nothing wrong with that.
Mark is asking, since you don't grade your own books, what grading service do you use?
In the beginning, I used CGC, but later on, I switched to Cbcs, and I do have PGX too. I do have a couple PGX, so I've sent there. I've sent to all of them. To tell you the truth.
And I would think it would be a good way to find out what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong as a competitor, right?
Yes. Yep.
So how many people grade each book before the final grade is set? I think you said you.
It's just me. There is no other eyes on it but myself. There's no other graders but myself.
So how does Slab stability compare to CGC or CBCS? Definitely considering sending a book to you guys. Can't stand CGC.
It's one of those things to where I could tell you that our current slab it's really. Are we going and trying to get better? Yes, but I would say you'll be happy with our current case, the way it is.
So Tori says Captain hates it when she tells. That's Captain Comics' wife. But hates it when it doesn't.
What's going on?
Nosh asked if you were going to invite me down for a few days for a 3-day tour. Oh man. But yeah, so we mentioned earlier the code that if you just want to do less than 10, just to try them out, see what everything's about, then certainly you can use the code Comics5 and save 5% on orders of 1 to 9. And we talked about the labels. We showed some of the labels, the turnaround times, so on and so forth. Mark is asking, when can we expect there to be larger book options, either thickness or I guess width, magazine size?
Well, I would probably say magazine size is going to be a while. It's going to be years for magazine.
CBCS doesn't even have magazine size, do they?
No, I don't think so. We definitely want to be able to offer it, but we have enough on our plate right now just trying to make the standard size regular cases for modern, silver, and gold. That's the big hurdle right now. Once we can get past that hurdle, then maybe in a couple years we can get the magazine size. Something we definitely do want to do in the future, but I would probably say it's definitely years magazine.
So, well, we've been on here an hour, and again, I appreciate your willingness to come out and just chit chat with the community. Hopefully, everybody on here has hit that like button and the subscribe button and bell notification buttons, and also check Tony out, EGS Grading Services over on IG. Which I'm sure when the YouTube thing goes live that he mentioned earlier, he will be posting it there. And then that way you can kind of get more insight. I feel like the more insight, the more information that the community gets with your practices, which, you know, you seem to be big on the transparency, which I appreciate. I feel like more people will get that comfort level to where they say, okay, yeah, Tony knows what he's talking about. He's not some Joe Blow just throwing some stuff in some plastic slabs.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So before we get out of here, anything else that you want to add, Tony?
No, I mean, like I said, just, you know, check us out. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like I said, we're beyond launching the YouTube channel here probably in a few weeks. I wish I could say that I look forward to seeing everybody at some cons soon, but we'll see. Hopefully that opens up at the end of the year. Maybe we'll get some. I wish I could say that, but other than that, it's just through social media and YouTube at this point. But try, you know, that's all I could say. I mean, if you want to, you know, see what we're all about, you know, judge the case for yourself. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, will talk stuff about a product or something without even trying it for themselves, without even actually holding one or seeing one. So I would just say you won't be disappointed. Give us a try, and you know, we'll definitely not disappoint you, for sure.
Tyler, he had mentioned earlier that when he was younger, he worked in a comic book store. He learned stuff from there, took some classes, and then, of course, he started EGS 3 years ago. So, so everybody else is thanking you as well. I do want to say, if you have not already entered the 900 subscriber giveaway, be sure to go over to that video and enter to win this Marvel Omnibus. We are 20 away from hitting that, and we'll be giving that away. And then also the 1,000 subscriber giveaway has already been announced, which is this. Should I cover up the CBCS logo since we're talking EGS? But the banana C2E2 Wolverine 9.8. So it's going to be one lucky persons after we hit 1,000 subscribers. So go and check that video out as well. Tony, again, appreciate you showing up. Appreciate everybody in the chat for your questions, your willingness to hear what somebody else has to say aside from say the big two, and maybe learn something new, and hopefully you'll try your services out with the codes that we mentioned earlier, Comics 5 for a smaller order, or any books normally that are 10 or more will get a 10% discount. So appreciate everybody for hanging out tonight. Go grab a few comics and chillax a little bit. Stay safe out there. Until next time, keep reading and keep collecting. Adios.